President Muhammadu Buhari has charged head of security agencies in the country to sit up as further security breach around the country will be counted against them as lapses. President Buhari gave this charge when he received students of the Government Girls Science Technical College, Japchi, Yobe State, that were recently released by Boko Haram insurgents at the Aso Presidential Villa, Abuja.
The security services have since been directed to put in place further measures around all schools vulnerable to attacks to ensure the safety of our pupils, students, and teachers and school workers. I have tasked all the security agencies to work to ensure that we do not witness any reoccurrence of these incidents. Security chiefs have been warned in clear terms that any lapse on their part will be viewed seriously.
President Buhari, who recently visited Dapchi community to sympathize with them before the release of the girls, also used the medium to assure parents of the remaining Chibok girls in captivity that the government will do everything possible to ensure their release.
While parents of Dapchi girls rejoice because of the reunion with their children, I want to appeal to the Chibok community never to lose hope or to despair. We are determined, as never before, to bring back our remaining Chibok daughters, and this we must accomplish, and that will be soon by God's grace. While further efforts are being made to secure the release of every abducted student in Nigeria, government is ever ready to accept the unconditional laying down of arms by any member of the Boko Haram group who shows strong commitment in that regard. We are ready to rehabilitate and integrate such repentant members into the larger society.
The president used the medium to warn against unguarded statements and utterances by politicians to score cheap political points.
This country has suffered enough of hostility. Government is therefore appealing to all to embrace peace for the overall development of our people and the country. May I also warn against those elements who have chosen to make political fortune of our citizens' misfortune. Government will not tolerate any attempt by any person or group to trivialize or politicize security issues for politically motivated ends. Accordingly, security agencies will not hesitate to decisively deal with such unscrupulous characters.
Director General of the Department of State Security Services, Lawa Dara, in his brief remark before presenting the girls to the president, stated that the government decided to opt for the dialogue approach for some reasons.
The insurgents' only condition was their demands for cessation of hostilities and a temporary ceasefire to enable them to return the girls at the point they picked. They required assurances that the government security forces would keep to this. The exercise was arduous and quite challenging. The sensitivity of the operation and some uncertainties surrounding it, particularly routes to be used, nature of transportation, realization and concern that the girls were not kept at one place, issues of encountering military checkpoints within the theater, and indeed keeping the operation on strictly the principles of need to know, made the whole exercise more complicated. Beyond the release of the abducted girls, Your Excellency, our primary interest for engaging in the dialogue was informed by the following. 1, to be able to secure a permanent and possible cessation of hostilities. 2, discussing the fate of arrested insurgents and innocent Nigerian citizens being held hostage. And 3, possibility of granting amnesty to repentant insurgents.
Dara also highlighted some of the challenges security agencies are facing in the course of rescuing these girls.
These presently seem problematic because the insurgents are factionalized while holding various spheres of influence in their guerrilla-controlled enclaves. The negative impact of social media on otherwise classified operations, and of course, some of the utterances of government functionaries who were not competent to comment on the issues, pose serious challenges that almost marred the recent rescue efforts. However, despite these challenges, the service has managed to successfully conclude the operation, leading to the release of the abducted girls.
High point of the event was a group photograph with the girls by President Muhammadu Buhari, some service chiefs and cabinet members. From the Aso Presidential Villa, Abuja, I'm Festus Ejiroge Nefifen for Ben Television.
The Nigerian Christian Association (CAN) says it's deeply disappointed that not all the abducted schoolgirls were rescued, and indeed that one of them that was left behind simply because of her Christian faith. CAN said this has once again confirmed its position that the primary target of the terrorists are Nigerian Christians, as severally professed by their spokesman Shekau. In a statement issued by the media assistant to the camp president, Bayo Adedeji, the Christian body says they are deeply troubled and disturbed that the negotiator brought in by the federal government made feeble attempt to secure the release of Leah Shoraibu, who insisted not renouncing her faith and converting to Islam, a development that affirmed that Christians are in danger in their own country. To this end, Christian Association of Nigeria make the following demand. 1. Leah Shoraibu must be set free to reunite with her parents unless the government is telling us that the lives and properties of Christians are no longer secure in this dispensation. 2. Federal government should set up a high-powered judicial panel to investigate the adoption of schoolgirls with a view of unmasking those behind the adoption and make them face the full wrath of the law. The report of the panel purportedly set up by the presidency to investigate the adoption should be released immediately to the public. 4. National Assembly should conduct a public hearing on the adoption saga to expose any cover-up. 5. The federal government should name the 5 students that said to have died while in captivity with the compensation paid to parents. 6. The Christians also demand the immediate release of the remaining Chibok girls from Boko Haram captivity and reunion with their families. 7. Once again, they demand the total reorganization of security agencies aligned with professionalism that will make them respond rapidly to security challenges in any part of the country. The People Democratic Party has told the federal government to fight corruption and stop harassment of the opposition parties. The party frowned at the motion ex-parte filed by the Special Presidential Investigation Panel for the recovery of public property, seeking the forfeiture of assets allegedly not declared by the Deputy Senate President, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, alleging the plot to silence the opposition. In a statement issued by its National Publicity Secretary, Kola Ologbondiyan, the party said while the PDP was in full support of any genuine anti-graft war or progressive Congress-led administration obsession with Ekweremadu was another clear indication that was not ready to fight corruption, but rather out to scandalize, persecute, and bring down the perceived opponent. He said PDP recalled that the government rushed to arraign Senator Ekweremadu and Senate President Bukola Saraki in 2016 on trampling upon the charges of forgery of Senate standing rule, even when there was not even a mention of their name in the contentious police report or proof of evidence, it eventually withdrew the charges for lack of merit. According to him, the police raided and ransacked Senator Ike Kremadu official guest house in Abuja in May 2017 and blamed it on forced whistleblower, whom they charged to court, and nothing had been heard about the trial of the alleged forced whistleblower again. The PDP said, contrary to the federal government's claim, Senator Kremadu had assured that he has declared its asset. It wondered why the federal government, by its own admission, rushed to court without completion of investigation, but has turned deaf ear to the outcry by Nigerians for the prosecution of the administration's functionary and friend indicted of corruption.
Lovely place, right?
Yes.
What's wrong? You don't look happy.
Take a look around. Why can't my hotel be like this?
I knew something was wrong, but I've got solution.
Solution? What?
Nanette.
Nanette?
Nanette offers you design solutions, building plans and construction, furnishing and equipping, financing, management, audit services, and many more services for a better hospitality business. Nanette, service with a smile.
In its bid to ensure that indigent Nigerians and those who cannot afford the services of a lawyer gets proper legal representation when necessary, the Justice Research Institute, a non-governmental organization, has signed an MOU with the Nigerian Bar Association to provide pro bono legal services to Nigerians who can't afford it. Speaking at the signing ceremony in Abuja, President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Abubakar Mahmood, stated that one of the core values of the Bar Association is to make sure that every Nigerian gets justice, irrespective of their political, financial, or social affiliations.
Having done our due diligence on the JRI, we are very delighted to partner with you and to go into this relationship to deliver these very important services which will impact not only on our members but broadly reach a large section of the community which the Bar Association is interested in. We're interested in anything to do with access to justice, anything to do with human rights protection, anything to do with provision of pro bono legal services, because we do recognize that there is serious demand for these services, and we are very delighted to encourage lawyers across the country to show interest and show commitment to these various services to members of the public. We see this as important strategy for rebuilding confidence in the legal profession, of course, along with other strategies we are pursuing. For instance, a lot of our regulatory reform efforts are focused on raising standards and ensuring better regulation of the legal profession. So all of these converge to support our current priorities and current goals. So I'm very happy and very delighted to be able to partner with JRI, and we hope that this will be the beginning of a strong partnership that will continue for years to come.
On his part, Executive Director of Justice Research Institute, Nkem Isiekwena, said the need for legal practitioners to sometimes get involved in pro bono services cannot be overemphasized, as many Nigerians find it difficult to get good legal representation in court whenever the need arises because of the issues of fund.
This MOU for us and for the NBA was born out of what we know are the dictates of today. We live in demanding times, an increasing population nearing 200 million, and a significant number of these population are impoverished. So we can only expect that the interaction and exchange in this space would lead to just rights, the need for protecting rights where there is obviously violation. So we came up with this proposal in collaboration with the Open Society Initiative of West Africa to look at the areas of this demand for services where members of the society who are indigent can benefit from just some level of organization to ensure that we connect the bar with the demand. And part of it is just the advocacy required to ensure that more legal professionals understand the need to give back to society. So what this does essentially is that we are trying to set up a national clearinghouse. This national clearinghouse will be an aggregator for demand for legal services from those who are indigent. We also recognize that current efforts that are budget funded and go through the Legal Aid Council, it really doesn't do much to take off the great need in the sector.
Though the right to legal assistance is enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, but in practice, accessibility to such assistance varied across different states. From Abuja, I'm Festus Ejirogenefife for Ben Television.
The Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, has shifted the withdrawal of police officers attached to the politician and public office holder VIP, public and private company to April 20th. Idris had on March 19 ordered the immediate withdrawal of all police officers attached to individuals, especially politicians and political and public office holders in the country. However, a statement by the first spokesman, Jimoh Moshood in Abuja, said the shift followed the IG's meeting with the commanders of Police Mobile Force, Counter-Terrorism Unit, and Special Protection Unit. Moshood said the shift will enable the force carry out a thorough assessment of the current deployment and carry out appropriate withdrawal. He said that the DIG of police in charge of operation have been mandated to direct Commissioner of Police, Assistant Inspector General of Police in the states, and Zonal Command to halt the withdrawal pending the new date. He said the task force set up by the IG and Assistant Inspector General of Police and the Commissioner of Police have also directed to suspend the enforcement of the withdrawal. The spokesman urged VIPs, politicians and public office holders and other entities to retain the police officers currently with them on deployment.
Federal government has inaugurated the governing boards and councils of 19 agencies under the Federal Ministry of Education appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari in April 2017. Minister of Education Malamada Madamu, while inaugurating the councils, urged them to work efficiently for the growth and development of their assigned agencies. The inauguration was conducted alongside the Minister of State for Education, Professor Anthony Anwuka, at the National Universities Commission.
You must be courageous. You must be innovative and responsible. You are expected to provide the governance and the type of leadership that will engender transparency, accountability, as well as support the pursuit of the mandates of your agencies. I urge you to maintain appropriate and harmonious relationship with the chief executives and management of your agencies. And in doing this, you should not be unmindful of the need to ensure adherence to all the provisions of the laws establishing those agencies, as well as the operational guidelines and financial regulations that you may be introduced to.
Governing councils have a strategic role to play in facilitating the required change in order to actualize the desired wishes of the President of the Republic of Nigeria and the federal government to provide easy access to education without compromising standards and quality.
Professor Ayo Banjo, who responded on behalf of the newly inaugurated board chairman, said the agencies would be strengthened and be more effective in carrying out its mandate now the board is inaugurated.
Honorable Minister, we promise to do all we can to raise standards in our universities, thereby satisfying the various stakeholders and at the same time placing our universities on the world map.
We who are joining the decision organs of governance are solemnly enjoined to become conversant with the laws, rules, regulations, and guidelines that make our country work. We do not know enough. And so at all times, we need to listen and share the experience of current and former operators, as well as opinion of idealists, critics, and activists.
Some of the board chairmen include Emeka Nwajuba, heading Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, Dr. Mahmoud Mohammed, UBEC, and Dr. Abubakar Sadiq Neko, among others. In Abuja, LM Chukwemeka reports.